Camelot 66. And to anyone else out there that this may be able to help. Although I very much like helping people, and, you know, like I said, I like to teach people how to fish as opposed to giving them a fish. You're kind of forcing me to give you a fish, and I'm not very happy about it. So I'm going to do it this way. If you ever have a problem to where your guitar doesn't sound like it's in tune with the source audio, in other words, what you're playing along with, retune your guitar or change the pitch of the track to match your guitar. So it's not that hard to do. If you are only used to using a tuner and not your ears, or used to seeing tabs and using a tuner and not using your ears to tune to things, then you need to stop that right now, because it is not helpful to you in the grand scheme of things. Imagine this. If we're having a conversation and I'm talking to you, and the only way you could respond to me is if you read what I told you in a book, that might be a problem. So you've heard me speak to you. You have to look it up in a book? No, there's no reason for that. You should just be able to hear what I said and either echo it directly back to me, because it's a language, right? This is a language thing. Or, you know, ask me to say it again. Okay, hey, I'm saying it to you again. And if you can respond, okay, hey, I'm saying it to you again in the same way, all right, you were listening. This is about language, and music is a language. It's about listening and about being able to, if you want to emulate something, it's about learning learning the techniques, learning the muscles. You know, your body has these innate abilities to hear things and to process and to deliver. But if you're only relying on your eyeballs to tell you where you are and what you're doing on something that your eyes really don't need to be involved with, then there's a whole nother problem. So my advice really would be, stop approaching this academically and start approaching it like it's a beautiful language and that you need involvement in it. So you need to listen, and then you need to try to emulate. Just like children. Small children, when they're first learning how to talk, they watch your mouth move. You know, they watch the mouth of your parents. They look at you and they're wondering, how are they doing? And they'll move their mouths to kind of, you know, do what you're doing. And eventually they start making noises. And eventually those noises start making sense to them, that they're saying those noises correctly or not. And, you know, then it moves on. But it's just like, you've got to work on it as if because it's obvious to me, you've never worked on it. Work on it as if you're a child learning a language. Approach it with a degree of awe and respect and listening. You have to listen not only to what you're listening to, but you have to listen to yourself. And when you play, are you sounding like what they're playing? And if not, then you've got to start figuring out why. Well, if my guitar is in tune, according to this tuner, well, maybe they're tuned differently, so I'm going to tune down. And I'm not going to use a tuner and go by hertz. You know, I'm going to use something else. I'm going to, you know, if I do use a tuner to figure out, this is what I'm going to show you, what they were tuned to, then fine. Tune your guitar to what that tuner says you're in tune to. You don't have to recalibrate your tuner to do it. Just go by the bars. But go by the ear is better. It's better to do it that way, man. It is the best way. So anyway, on with the show. Here's what I'm talking about. So in Reaper, you've got Retune from Cocos. This is fine. I've got the G tuner up here. Right now it's giving me a little bit of trouble, but that's what I used before, and it wasn't giving me trouble with this at all. However, this guy's not, and I'm not sure about Nimbrini, but we can always check that and see if that works in a minute. But as far as the retune is concerned, cool. I'm in Reaper. I've dragged the weight into here, and this is what I'm talking about to figure out what they were tuned to for this, because I had tuning problems with it. I could either use my ear to tune. In fact, okay, so this is how it worked out. I used my ear to tune to this. And the beginning was fine. As soon as I got to this part here where everything kicks in nice, it was out of tune. If I tuned to what's being played here, then this part was out of tune. So something was up between these two. And I can show you in here that this is tuned lower and then this is higher. Well, I know it's higher now because I revisited this. But here's the situation. You want to find out where something's tuned to. If you get a nice open note like this, get one of these guys open. And this comes with Reaper. So if you've already got Reaper, bingo, you've got a tuner. Put it in the effects. Play. There it is. Now there's too much information, and it's not going to be able to give you, you know, kind of a discrete signal there. But if we get over to here and we start playing again, and you'll see it kind of jumping around, but you'll see that it goes from like here, when it's E, kind of flat, to about here. So it jumps up a few cents. Watch. Well, not here, but... Nah, we're not seeing anything, are we? There's another one. Up. So how would I tune this up? It's very simple. I took my entire guitar tracks, well, entire guitar tracks, there were two, and I took both of those, and I rendered them each. I didn't even really have to do that. I could just do this. Let's do it with here. Let's add another effect, and in this I'm going to go pitch, pitch proof, repitch. There we go. And let's say I wanted to apply repitch just from, you know, here. This is not how I did it, but it's a way you can do it. Let's say here. So right there, I'm going to split that, bring it down to a second track, apply repitch to that second track, and I will take that and I'm going to shift that up a couple of semitones. Well, not even, just a little bit right there. I can even shift it in cents, which is even better. So let's go up 28 cents just to have fun. Now listen. So this is effectively what I did with my guitar tracks. This is the same tuning as this. Okay, so this part, the intro, and this part are 23 cents off. Might be 22, might be 24, but that sounds right to my ears. So I think one of the things that you really need to do is start listening, you know, really, really hard to what's going on, and to figure out whether or not what you're hearing yourself do sounds like what they're doing. If it doesn't sound like what they're doing, you need to change something. Either change, you know, the way you pick, the pick you're using, the tuning just a little bit. If it sounds off, it probably is. So, and there is something funny about old-fashioned recording techniques. If you try to play along with fade to black, fade to black's pitch changes from start to finish. It continues to shift up just a little bit. So if you start and you tune to the beginning, you will be completely off by the end of it, like a quarter step. And if you start and you tune to the end of it, you're going to be completely off in the beginning. So either way, you're going to sound like crap until one part in the middle where everything kind of congeals and it's going to go away, right? But so there's no happy medium. You can either correct the pitch in the track like this, or you know, there's nothing else you can do. There's another tool you can use that I have and that you too can have. I've got an old version of SoundForge Pro. We open that up. It's a real one too. It's not even pirated. So if I and neither is Reaper. That's the fun part. So if I opened up Fade to Black in this, there is, or the Wait for that matter. But let's go ahead and talk about. Okay. So essentially, what you're going to be doing with this is starting from the beginning and going to the end, the fade out, and you will head to pitch, you know, effects, pitch, and you're going to do a bend. Okay, so reset the envelope, and I'm going to do this. And I'm going to set everything just about where I think it's going to be right. Technically, it'll be here. And I guess it goes the other way. There we go. Short range in semitones and moving it up. So throughout the entire song, the pitch of the song, which will... If the song itself, if I remember this correctly, whatever way it goes, you can shape it to where the line takes it in the opposite direction. And it comes out pretty good. And I actually sat down and I figured it all out like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And it works fine. My copy of it does, but it's not the original. It doesn't sound like the original because it can't sound like the original. So in a case such as this, if I were to play this as a cover, which I'm not going to, a million people have, and I know this one way too well, so, but if I were to play this as a cover, I would extract my tracks, put them in here, change the pitch according to the original song, and then I'm in tune throughout the whole tune. Well, how did he do it? This is how I did it. Alright, well that's the end of that. So, when I'm talking about things like using VSTs, this is what I'm talking about. And this is not a complex operation. This is an easy thing to do. You know, grade 1 type of stuff. So, you get your first DAW. Learn how to open, you know, I'm sure you have one, but you know, you learn how to open a VST, or pop a VST into here, or go out and get your own. This is it. This is how you do it. It's easy as pie. And if mine doesn't look like yours, change it in your themes and it will. So that's that. So I hope what I taught you here helps, and I hope that it might be able to help other people. But I'm not kidding when I talk about using your own ears. So what key is this in? Well, what did you think it was in? And if it wasn't right, why didn't you just tune your guitar to it? So if I hear this on some guitar, and I play something else on another guitar, and my guitar is off, well, am I just going to ask somebody what's wrong? No, I'm going to tune it to the guitar that I'm trying to tune it to. So hey man, next time before you ask a question about the exact tuning of a song, try to really figure it out yourself. It's better for you that way. It'll help train your ears. Just start messing around until you know that the pitch is right. And one of the ways to do that is when you hear this, let me get a pick here and get you a real strong sense of out of tune. Hear those vibrations? Or here? You can hear where it's wrong. This is higher than that. So bring it up. Another way of doing it is... But I already turned that and tuned that down. This will help you more than just asking somebody else what something is tuned to that they didn't even write. So what are the takeaways from this? I think the most obvious takeaway is that for whatever it is that you're trying to do, the best tools are the ones you already possess. So if you can hear, lend an ear, and vice versa. But if you can hear, lend an ear. If something doesn't feel right, maybe there's a reason for it. But your ears are your most critical and valuable tools when it comes down to figuring out music, your own melodies in particular. So let's look at it this way. If you can't use your own ears to figure out other people's music, even simpler stuff, and start small. Don't immediately start out with Paganini, because I mean, for crying out loud, that's only asking for trouble and hurt and maybe disassociation disorders and all sorts of other things, anxiety. All you're going to do is hurt yourself if as a beginner in speaking, like when you're a very small baby and the very first thing you try to pronounce is like anti-disestablishmentarianism, you're asking for trouble. It's not going to happen. So, what is that? Peter Griffin said, ornithological empiricism. Yeah, again, you're asking for trouble. What you need to do is start small, baby steps. What about Bob thing? There's correct notions in that. So start small, take it in chunks. and work your way up to where you're proficient in the musical language, to where you can go, aha, something's not right. It sounds like it's tuned down from me. It sounds like it's tuned up from me. Hey, this sounds like it's in drop D if it was tuned up a whole step, so like drop E or something like that. Yeah, let's do that. You can start figuring stuff out like that, and it only makes you a better player. Because the whole reason why we play, if we're playing to play other people's music, we want to be able to decipher what it is that they're doing on a kind of a visceral level. And this will help with that. But if your goal is to write your own stuff, you'll never be able to figure out what's in here if you can't figure out what's in here. You know what I mean? If I'm playing somebody else's music and I can't figure out what they're doing, and I only rely on tabs, for instance, or for other people just to tell me, hey, they're tuned down a little, even if it's just a helpful nudge, that's a big problem. Because what if I've got a song in here and I can't figure out what it is? Well, who's going to tell me what it is? It's up to you. And you'll only get better at doing this part, and that translation, if you get better at doing the other part. It's up to you. Do your part. I'm doing mine.
I'm doing my part.